So we're going to start off with the 25-26 season in brief. We'll start with last summer's recruitment. Obviously, last season was a bit of a, not the greatest, 1 point above the relegation zone and not where we wanted to be, but there was some hard work done in the season, and when you look at the recruitment we did with people like Emma Matthews and Ben Ward, Isaac Sinclair, we started with some lads who, people probably looked at that and thought, where are these lads coming from? Not a lot non-league football. But I think over the test of time, and we've got great management, you'll see that they've really started to flourish. I know we've had to let them go, but they have become, really experienced players in League Two football, and they stand out now. And that's due to, great management and great effort by the management team. They're bearing fruit, and they're probably behind the success that we're seeing this year when you look at them. And it's great to see. It shows that the effort that's going into the recruitment programme is bearing fruit. Then we had Isaac Heath this year that's come in from Everton. I don't know if there's anyone in this room can see what a star he's going to be. And a good thing I'd like to tell you is when he got to Christmas this year, and we all panicked, because we knew bigger clubs had come wanting, he wanted to stay. He wanted to be at Eastham because he felt that was best for his development. And that, if for us as a club of our size, is testimony to what we are. A real breeding ground for great young players that can go on and progress through the leagues. Isaac Heath is certainly going to be one for the future. I'm looking forward to seeing him for the rest of the season now, and I'm sure we're all going to enjoy some of the things that he's showing he's capable of. A big plus was getting Sean Wally back fit. We missed him at the beginning of the season, and he's really showing, that even in his later years, he's still a force to be reckoned with at this level. And then you add Seamus to that, and we've got two experienced players. And what a lot of supporters don't see is what they bring to the changing room, to the group, and the experience that rubs off on these younger players. And it's quite often why some of the younger players want to stay for else on more, because they are being looked after and they are developing. I have to give a big shout out to John and Jed. There was doubts from some of our fan base of whether they were a right fit last year, but what we can say is the hard yards, the hard work they put in is really now starting to show. They've brought a togetherness in the squad, and for the club really, they work extremely hard, and they're winners through and through, and I think everyone will say, what a great pair of managers they are. And with the budgets we have here at Accrington, they've not just solidified the group, we're starting to see it in points on the pitch, and that's all we can ask for from them guys. Most clubs have a real team behind them, but John and Jed do everything. They're the people who look about recruitment, they're the ones who do the coaching, they're the ones who do the team talks, they do everything. And to be fair to them, we support them through and through, and we're starting to get the results that we wanted, and fair play to them. Like we said, it's all about results, isn't it? I remember standing here last year, and it was a difficult one because we didn't know where we were going to end up. A lot of panic from the fans. There was a little bit of panic from us as well, I must admit, because obviously the worst thing that can ever happen is if whoever's get relegated. But it was about turning things around. We wanted a positive note. We actually said as a group of directors that we wanted a minimum of half a day. And I think, with the things we've done, the recruitment that's happened, the effort that everyone's put in, and also the team spirit that's shown, not just through the football side, but the club in general has pulled together and has started to turn those negatives into a positive. And when I say that, that's everybody. I'm hearing different noises from my fan base. I'm hearing different noises from staff. It's great to see. You were starting to see that family effect that we shout about so often, and that turns, the club into a positive. And it's great to see, especially when our neighbours are really slow. And we've got to continue pushing upwards. We've got to keep doing good things. We've got to bring new players in. We all know what type of club we are. As players succeed here, we haven't got the money, we haven't got the ability to hold them back. And we have to sometimes let players go. And that's unfortunately how lucky it is. But one player a year, if we're lucky, we turn a player into a bit of a superstar, who can go through the leagues. He brings something in, it allows us to have a bit of freedom and bring some players in. So on the whole, that sort of effort is working. With the Ben Ward transfer, it's sure one player, move them on, bring someone in, we all move on, and we turn the corner and go again. And that's our key to a team. And it's been great to see, and it's been great to see that the fans are fully behind that. And I watched the play and talked to people in the bars, and there's certainly a feel-good factor about the place at the moment. I think we'll move on to the transfer window, January transfer window, because it certainly needs talking about. We have a bit of our model has to be about bringing players through who we believe can reach the standards at League 2 level, and then we combine that with really good loan signings. And I think that's evident in the last 2 years. It's hard sometimes to go out to the fan base and explain who or why a player has been chosen. But when they go out on the pitch and they show what they're capable of, it then starts to show what people we've got in the building, and the experience and the knowledge about bringing them in and turning them into the type of players that we have and what we need. Ben Ward couldn't get a place at Burnley, and he came here, and look already, he's moved as one of the most coveted players in League 2 and moving on to bigger and better things. That is something that we are always going to do, and hopefully players that come in from non-league will continue to show that we have the capability to turn them into really good League 2 players. And at Accrington, it is something we're proud of, and it's not something that's just happened. It's happened over years. That's what we are, a hard-working community club. We get some great loan signings. Ollie Wright, I'm sure you all agree what a great signing he's been. He's really kept it in games throughout the year. It's a tough one to go and find a keeper of that standard, and he's been there. He was again last night for you watching. He pulled off a few great saves again last night. And these are good young lads who want to work hard. Isaac Keith, we talked about him. He's going to go on and on and on. Paddy Madden, we all called out for a goal scorer, and coming with years of experience. He's come in at first. We're all a little bit worried when we didn't see these goals coming in, I'm sure, but he's now starting to show that he's got that experience, he's got that talent, and he can certainly do what we need him to do. He's also given a lot to the squad in the changing rooms. If anyone's had the opportunity to talk to Paddy, he's a real character, he's well loved throughout the league, and that's because he does things in a professional manner. We did have Joe Bress and Logan Pye. Unfortunately, we had an ACL injury with Joe Bress. He won for the future, he was highly regarded when he came from Burnley, and with the ACL injury, we were lucky enough to let him go back to Burnley and get his recovery. He did show at times he had the capability, but never really got the running games to show exactly how good he could be. And I think you'll all agree, that we do try and recruit the right type of players. We had a few departures, by the way. Obviously, Charlie Cason scored last night for Hartlepool. Unfortunately, scored in the 93rd minute, and then they scored a penalty in the 107th minute, so they lost against York. But with the club as it is at the moment, not having too many teams underneath the first team, we need to give these lads an opportunity to play. Angela, Dan Martin, Philip Tunstall all need time to go out and play. We're not a club that can have a 21s or 23s because of the expense of having those teams. And obviously when you have a squad, of over 28 players, then they're not all going to play in the first team. So we have to make sure they get out. We send them out to clubs who are going to try and build them up, give them the opportunity to play, and ship them back to us with a bit more experience and the opportunity to get into the first team and play. While I'm going on to this, if there are questions that you want to ask, I will answer questions on each individual topic because obviously we'll get to the end. We're going to go back through everything. But if you are, stick around, I have no problem answering any questions. Transfer window for the summer. There's undoubtedly going to be questions. We have 5 loan players that all have to go back, and obviously that leaves spaces with a couple of older players that everyone wants to know about every year, what we're doing with them. And also, what are we doing about recruitment? We have some players that we're already negotiating contracts with to extend, and obviously that will be put out on social media channels as and when that happens. Hopefully everyone's enjoying the run in the team at the moment, so those that we are offering contracts to will obviously accept. We always look for permanent signings, so like we said earlier on, it is a case of studying the nationwide league, nationwide north, and some of the clubs around us to see where the next stars may be. We can bring them in on permanent signings. It's great to have them in the door, progress them and sell them on, or keep them in the team or the squad for as long as we possibly can. We have to get the best out of the loan market. It is what it is. We work hard with other clubs to get salaries as low as we can to bring players in to progress. And we do that by talking to some of the best agents around. There's a lot of agents out there that are unscrupulous, they're only interested in themselves, but there are some really good agents out there who work hard for the club, who want their players to come through because they see Accrington Stanley as a stepping stone for their players to get an opportunity to put themselves out there for other clubs to see. We were a bit unfortunate with Jay Batty, but if you look at what we did with Jay Batty, we turned him from a lad who was, a bit of a, how would you put it, troublemaker at Blackburn. He ended up being our player of the year, young player of the year here. That stands out to other clubs when we do things like that. Alright, he hasn't gone to bigger and better things, but he's got himself a deal at Swindon. And it's an example. And we want other players to come through our club and through the loan market that we can then push on and see where they go. The relationship with the agents is something that we're having to do a lot more of. We do it simply because they're the ones with the league knowledge. We have a great relationship with a lad who looks after a lot of the Everton guys. Obviously he was instrumental in bringing Isaac here. We have about 3 or 4 now we talk to regularly who always bring players to our attention. Obviously we look at where they might fit, what they're capable of, can they manage the rigours and the physical nature of Division 2 or League 2, and we're going to continue to do that. If we get the right people coming to watch us, they love it here, they see what we're all about, and I'm sure we're going to get some great players in for next season. I'll move on to the England women's under-23s. Only briefly, because it was something that I think is a real privilege to have them here. And having been at the end of the first phone call, where we had the opportunity to have the main Brazil women's team first and foremost, unfortunately they went to Curzon Ashton in the end because it was closer to the Man City Stadium. But when they came to have a look at us, they couldn't believe we were a League 2 team. They couldn't believe the facilities, the pitch, changing rooms, what we were as a club, and offered us the England women's under-23s internationally. They do all their own marketing, they do all their television, they do everything, so we really just facilitate it. We don't really have the opportunity to market it like we would because they turn up with everything. There's a small army turn up and do what they need to do. There was a question that came from Lindsay Trotter, did we maximise that potential? Well, we tried. We put everything out there we could, but as far as television and everything else, all the rights sit with the England setup and unfortunately the BBC, and they look after everything. But I think when you look at it as a group of supporters and you say, look at what we are like, you've got England under 23s here. You could have gone to Blackburn, could have gone to Burnley, could have gone to him, they came tacky. And that's a privilege to play on a pitch like this. The hard work was done by Ben and the lads. People turn up here, they just can't believe what they're seeing. And that's testimony to the hard work that goes in behind the scenes and what we deliver as a club. They've already said when the opportunity comes they will be back. And the England squad.
So I did try and talk to some of their trainers on the night, and I tried to speak to the press boss, and we sent an email to the BBC because there were loads of women's games listed on the BBC, not going to be shown, but they were listed, all the games are listed every night, and it wasn't on there. Never got a reply from the BBC, of course, and they were, I just, so obviously it wasn't down to Accrington, I understand that now from what you've said, but I'll be sending a message to them because it's just not right.
A lot of it's down to where the fixture fits as well. So obviously it was a fixture they didn't hold in the highest of regards, I think. But the fact that it was an international 23-year-old, you look at what the game was, we get to see behind the scenes and the effort that goes in. The American team, they were a small army, and what they ask of you, it's a great occasion, but we just can't manipulate certain outcomes. And I think as we learn though, I think next time as we learn, we will ask different questions before the cup. From a commercial standpoint, could we do things any different? How do we market differently? Yeah, they pay money, yes, of course they do. And they pay for everything that they do. But it's not, you've got to remember they see it as a privilege. And it's because there's a lot of clubs out there who want to stay into this type of fixture. So, yes they pay, but it's not something that you would start running around and clapping hands about. I'd rather have Liverpool away. But it's still a fixture that we can shout about, but they chose us because of what we are. They chose us because of what we can give them, how we can organise it, the facilities we give, and also how the team put things together. Karen's team in here, how they organised everything for, not just the players, but the army of people who came in and they want. So we learned a lot on this one. Next time, maybe we can maximise it.
The profile of the club.
Of course it does.
Because we spoke to everybody we met, once we knew it was on, and kept telling people it was on, and it was nothing to come, and nobody knew about it.
Well, there's a difference in profile with the fan base and with supporters, and there's a difference within international football. So within the international setup, Accrington Stanley's name has improved. So it's now, actually, it's not just improved, it's now on the map. Because we weren't on the map. But what happened on that day, they've come here and they've seen something that they didn't expect to see at this level. And all of a sudden, women's football at under 23 level is never going to drive the crowds that it is, but this is suitable for them, and they'll be back. And they'll be back because of the effort they went in. So we should all be proud of that. And when we're talking about the profile, absolutely it did. We will be talking to the main women's international setup to see now about having them here. We've got the hotels locally, we've got a great setup here. So hopefully we'll get some more fixtures.
Can I just ask on that? We're linking in with the pub as well.
we've never worked as close as we do now with the hub. It's a great passion of mine. It's one of the biggest assets we have, and absolutely we do. A high percentage of information that comes about pitch use, about club use, comes from Martin and his team, and the great work that they do. So, I've said it so many times. The brand is stronger together. The football club is short 5 days a week. The trust isn't, but they're always on the lookout to do things with us and to do things together. Does that answer your question?
Thank you.
Any more questions on England? Sky Sports. So let's talk about Sky Sports. We're one of 72 teams in the EFL, 92 overall. Sky Sports have a hold on that, and we have to adhere to what we say. Now, we do get some reward when we get a match. So if you look at the Salford game in isolation, it was broadcast nationally by Sky Sports and internationally by Paramount Plus around the world. Accuracy standards being seen around the world. With our brand, everyone knows what accuracy standard is. But that's what the EFL are trying to do. They're trying to grow our profile, not just as accuracy standard, but as the EFL, and make it more marketable in different countries. So unfortunately, it's as frustrating it is when you've got a nice Saturday to look forward to, and they say, we'd rather you play on a Thursday. We have to adhere to that. And we do get the rewards through some of the money that comes down through the system, and it helps the club tick over. We have some of the best supporters around, but we're not blessed with thousands and thousands and thousands. So this money does really help, even though there's nothing more frustrating than playing Grimsby on a Tuesday night when it's pouring down, and then not having a Saturday game and then you've got Tranmere away on a Tuesday. I fully understand the frustrations that brings for supporters.
Well, how many fans do you think we lost last Thursday by playing Salford on Thursday night compared to the Saturday? There was 1,800 on here.
Yeah, it doesn't just affect our fans, does it? It affects theirs as well. So
we played, I think it was it Bromley who played at 12:30 kickoff here, and it's a long way to drop from Bromley to here.
It is when you get there for 12 o'clock, yeah. But I think, there's different matches.
I think this club was very positive about this TV deal with EFL and Sky Sports when it came in. I know Andy Holt said it was good money for the club, big money for the club, and we should support it.
But this is a fans forum,
Yeah.
so this is about you guys. As a club, I can talk finance, I can talk everything that means nothing to a supporter who wants to come and watch his football team or her football team.
At 8 o'clock on a Thursday.
And that's exactly my point. We would love to be here at 3 o'clock on a Saturday and then get out celebrating a win and have a few beers on a Saturday night. But some of these fixtures, as much as they're great for the club and they help the coffers and help us do what we need to do, they don't always work in tandem with what the fan wants. Some people live for football on a Saturday afternoon, and that's got to be respected. So, I always think this is a fan forum. I judge you about what you would like and what have you, and I don't think there's anything better than a 3 o'clock kick-off on a Saturday. We have to have the Tuesdays, we have to have Thursdays now and again, because that helps us, but that's, Sky Sports for her. And we have to support the EFL. The EFL put all the effort in to make sure money filters down from Premiership and so on and so on. They put deals together. They unite all the bigger clubs to make sure that their market value comes down to us as well. So we have to support that. We have to continue putting up with it. But that's Sky Sports for you, I'm afraid. We do challenge when we can. If there's an opportunity where we feel we're going to get a better response by holding the game and not televising it, we'll try and challenge, but it's not always the case. Any more questions on Sky Sports? Right, moving on to the venue. I'm sure you're all interested in the venue. No secret, this has probably been one of the most disappointing aspects for our club over the last year or so. Coming from, you know, some of you guys in here had some celebrations and really enjoyed the time here, the bands, and you know, having a singer on after the game, and just Christmas parties and so on and so on. You know, I've got a staff that are talented and that want to enjoy that too, and want to work regularly, and it's been really difficult. But we've got some good news for you. So we've now got planning permission for the building, which was the stumbling block for us, because it was refused through certain complaints. So I'm not going into that detail, because it's well documented. But recently, there was a meeting that decided whether the council should execute on the planning on the 4-year rule. The 4-year rule is after 4 years, if no one complains or the council don't execute, we naturally get planning permission. We felt we already had it because the 4-year is when the building is substantially built. That was in November last year, the 4 years was up. We could also say that the building was fit for purpose and in use in February, beginning of February this year. Our lovely residents who put a complaint in put March, I think it was March 16th or somewhere around there. But that was the time the building was signed off. But that's not the date. So the date was either the beginning of February or November, which we would have legally challenged. However, because we knew this was coming, the residents got the council to have a meeting which they had to fulfil their element about whether to execute any sort of action on us for on the building. That went through and it was passed. It was tight, but it passed, so that no execution on us, so we're not having to knock it down and not do anything with it other than try and improve the sound. But now we've got planning permission, we can improve the sound, because there's no point in investing money on a roof that hasn't got planning permission, a building that hasn't got planning permission. So we've now started that proceeding. So we are talking to a company called Miller's Goodall, who was the first challenge we put in against the council's sound experts, which is called Hans Tucker. They have come back into conversation now with another guy, Alex from Benchmark Solutions, and basically he's a structural engineer as well as someone who is a sound expert. They're collaborating together to put together a profile for the roof that we can get tested at Salford University, and that will then be put in a lab environment where all the decibels and all the sound that we need to have functions in here we put through that piece of roof to showcase that it will do what we need it to do. Those conversations have happened over the last week or so now, and the owners have gone into the university, so that will happen in the immediate future. And as soon as we get evidence that the new roof will do what we need it to do, we will authorise the installation of the new roof. Then we'll have a short period of time where we just look at any other areas, just to make sure we don't have any leakage anywhere else on the building. And there's one or two things we need to put in technology-wise to make sure that we don't go over the levels externally. But once we've done that, we'll then have a test case where we'll have an event where we can show how it's changed, and then we'll reapply for a licence, which on the licence that got, how do you put it, when they reduced the licence, so we could only do so much, it said at the bottom, if the noise situation is solved, we welcome you to reapply to have a roof licence to put back in. So I'm hoping that will happen before the end of next season. So as far as if anyone asks, that's the plan, that's what we're doing. Andy's behind it. So, you know, we are all working together now to make sure we get the best outcomes. So we can start to have the parties, start to have the events, the singles on after a game, and we can start celebrating some of the good work we do. And also for the guys who work in hospitality and work in the venue, we can start to give them regular work and get back to where we were before. So hopefully that's some good news for you to share.
Have you got your own sound system? So any bands that come here cannot bring their own, which are more decibels.
That is part of the process.
Yeah.
So just to echo what was said there, is we have our monitored system, and the monitored system is then put in place so that we know whatever the maximum level is internally will produce outcomes externally. So when anyone comes in, they have to plug into that system, so know whether it's a band, a DJ, a singer, whoever, we know what the external sound levels are going to be. So they can't turn, if they turn it up, the system automatically turns itself down again. So we've got to get the level high enough to have a proper function, but the system will maintain their levels. Right, so it just stops anyone saying, well, you turn it up at 10 o'clock or you turn it up at 11 o'clock. That won't be the case because you can't do it. Does anyone have any questions you'd like to ask on that?
Did you take the old roof off? Is that the way it works?
To be perfectly honest, I think it goes on top of the existing roof. Now, I don't know whether they take skin off or whatever they do, not being, you know, a structural engineer myself, but I believe it goes on top. And we have to look at whether that requires additional planning or whatever. But the good thing about this whole process is the complaint we had was absolutely about noise. So the whole complaint was about noise. So therefore, we solved the noise, we solved the problem. So when we lost the license, we didn't lose it because of driving issue, we lost it because of the noise. So we solved the noise, we solved the problem. And that is where we're going to go with it. The council are aware of it. They don't want this place shut anymore. There's been some huge learning curves from the council. And you know, we've healed a lot of the relationship side. We've worked really hard to get people to understand what we do as a community. I'll share with you at the end of the meeting that I'm hoping to have in the very near future with local residents. And when I say residents, just not 5. I mean thousands that are touched by Accrington Stanley, and I'll explain that later on. Any more questions about the sound and
You said next season.
beginning of this season, the next season, beginning of the next season. It depends how quick we can get everything through. Obviously, if we have to go through an hour planning, that might be back a bit, but we're pushing as hard as we can. And to be fair, I'm getting daily phone calls and emails of family. Where are we? What we're doing? You know, we're 2 sound specialists on the job, so we're really pushing hard to make sure we get this done. It's, you know, it's a lifesaver for us. You know, I'd probably say we were between half a million to £1 million turnover per year is missed by us not being open and having the functions that we do. So we really want to push on with that.
Beginning of next season.
Hopefully, beginning of next season, yeah, because it's not it's quite a short build process, because it's going on top. If we did it internally, we'd have to take all this out, which will be forever. So we just need to push on a little bit. A lot of it depends on what the council say we have to do on the planning side. If we get it with an adjustment to the original build, then we can crack on with it once we prove that it's going to do what we say it's going to do. So I can't promise, you know, because I'm not a structural engineer and I'm also not, you know, I don't know about the levels yet back from the university, but that's what we're hoping for, what we're pushing for. Anyone else?
Obviously, the cost will affect the transfer.
No, so the cost will cover that. Yeah, so it is what we appreciate what we have to do. Finally, anyone on that one? Right, season tickets. So I'm sure we're all interested in season tickets. Last year we were late out, and obviously it had an adverse effect on people's time and what we do as regards to installments, etc. This year, with 2 sets of payment criteria, we'll have an early bird, which is April, May and June. So the early bird will start early May, June, in April, May and June. And the standard season ticket price, if we miss the early bird, will be May, June, July. So there'll be 2 sets of instalment payments out there early. We've done all the hard work, so we're looking to launch a lot earlier this year, and the marketing will go out. There's been some changes. We've uplifted the age group from under 12s to under 14s in line with EFL. The majority, I think it's about 24 out of 26 clubs now under 14 to be winning adults. If you want to see a ticket winner, from under 14, a lot of the problems have come with clubs where you've got 10 and 11-year-olds pretending a 12-year-old to get in without unsupervised. Well, it moved it to 14 because a 10, 11, 12-year-old not know like a 14-year-old. So that's one change. We've also introduced an 18 to 21s category because I think when doing the study on the data, we lost season ticket holders who were getting to 18 and then going straight to adult prices, which it was too high of a jump really, which meant people would be more selective in the games that they come, which we want season tickets to have all the benefits. We're bringing a new under 9s bracket, which for those of you who got young children, the under 9s are free. So if you have a season ticket, they're free. That it will be, if you buy a ticket, it's an under 9 with a 2-pack. So that's around that mark. The prices haven't been absolutely set in stone, so I won't be sharing that with you tonight, but it's a very small increase on last year. But we've done what we can. We've looked at all the prices across the league. We've also studied our own data to make sure where we lost, because obviously we need to make sure we recoup. We had, I think it was 1,100 season tickets the season before last, and then only 750 this year, somewhere around there. So we want to make sure we understand where we lost that. I think we lost it through 1 being late, 2 not having the right payment scheme, and 3 we made some changes to the structure of the age groups, which didn't help. There was too much of a gap really financially for people to move. So not only that, we have sat with the Supporters Trust and listened to them, what their worries have been, what feedback from fans have been. We've done everything we possibly can. We talked to other clubs about what they've done, and we're really coming this year with a totally different offer and looking at how we can make it more affordable for people, certainly with the payment schemes that we've got in place. We've always said, from on the season ticket point of view, we have a summer where we don't bring any income, especially when this has been shut. But if the prices are too high, it don't come in anyway, no matter where you put it. And if there's no way to pay for it on instalments, people just haven't got the income to pay straight up front. So we've put things in place for everybody. And we've looked at the prices for the juniors are certainly staying roughly the same, if not more or two. So we're hoping that we're going to see more season tickets this year, and we're going to really push that to try and get more people in buying season tickets. Has anyone any questions on the season tickets?
How many season tickets have we got now?
So roughly around 750 to 800, somewhere around that. The weird thing about season tickets is not everybody buys a season ticket attends, believe it or not. And it's quite strange. A lot of people do buy season tickets and then don't attend. It's quite odd. I would say there's a third probably don't attend, but they buy the season tickets. Now whether that's a loyalty thing to Accrington and that they feel they want to put some money in, and if they want to come, they can. There's mileage in that. But it's quite strange that people will buy a season ticket and we don't see them come through the train stand. You know, we looked at systems where we could thank those who do come to games, so that when you use your season ticket, it automatically says thank you for coming. If you don't turn up, it sends you an email that says, why did you come, is there anything we can do, what was it? So we could get some data. The system we currently use needs quite a lot of updating, so we're looking at different things to move things on and bring technology in. So, you know, we will see things happen in the future, but at the moment, you know, that's roughly where we are. But we've done a lot of hard work this year. You know, we sat, myself, Lou, Jordan, and Robert has done some fantastic work this year. He went through the entire league, finding out who pays what, and we even got down to which seats were where and all sorts of stuff. He did some great work, so, you know, thanks for that, Bob. So we wouldn't have got to where we are if it wasn't for the team, really. But it's nice to sit here today in February and know we're already in position to put season tickets out. So, you know, well done to everyone from our lot. Anyone, any questions?
Are individual match tickets going on next season?
Sorry, say again.
Individual match tickets, are they going on next season?
The all tickets go up slightly.
Right.
With the pressures of this of having staff and the things that we need, part-time staff, I mean the season tickets really do help because they come into the stand, they scan the season ticket and they come. If you're on a match ticket, you've got to get someone in the ticket office, you've got to process the tickets, you've got to plan more beforehand. So they do go up slightly, but the benefit, I think when I looked at the adult season ticket, where roughly we were benchmarking, compared if you came to every game on a match ticket as an adult and you came on an early bird season ticket, it was 38% difference between prices. So there's quite a lot, and that through the range it ranges between roughly 32 to 38% across in, you know, from Euro APs to 18, 17 tickets. So having a season ticket is where I'm looking to really push to get people in and, you know, invest in the club. Any more questions?
Just instalments, we just set on the 3 month.
Set up over 3 months. The idea is that we get the full completion. Now our system's not the fanciest. So the early bird starts in April, so it's end of April, end of May, end of June. The standard ticket is May, June, July. So that means anyone who bought a season ticket will complete before the season starts. Now, the season next year is a bit complicated due to international football, so the Carabao Cup is starting earlier. It's not guaranteed yet. I know Luke's doing all the work on finding out how, when, why, when, and all that sort of stuff. But if we get done by the end of July, we cover our non-making money months, if you know what I mean. So we bring money in, but we bring it in incrementally rather than hoping that people will spend £300, you know, straight off the bat. So we're trying to work with the fans to make sure it's as affordable as we can.
We did have a really once, I think, it's probably just with a one company.
We can, it's integrating everything into what we do, and it's like I said, our systems are not the greatest, but the trouble is when you change ticketing systems, you don't just change what happens in the ticket office, you have to bring new technology and new hardware in right around the stadium. And listening to them sometimes, it's like Swahili, trying to get from A to B. And you know, there's other things that we need to focus on in the morning, like the roof and making sure there's other things going on in the background which will come out. But there's real positives happening around the place, and I'm just happy that we can give you that this year. And payment plans, I know the early bird wasn't on instalments last year. Well, it is this year over 3 months, and obviously the standard tickets follow on from that. Anyone else? Great stuff. Commercial. So commercially, it's a huge part. Commercial is a huge part to what we do. You know, we all have parts to play, the sponsors, the fans, everyone who helps us commercially. I'd like to thank Taylor Scaffolding Limited and Vital Synergy. They come on as new stand sponsors. You know, and it's significant money that we get that helps us do the things we need to do. Farley Solicitors, Fagan and Worley, HML, for those of you who've been in HML, Stuart, you know, a great bloke who, you know, he puts time and effort into the club and he welcomes everyone into his snug. So I'd like to say thank you to them. One of the huge positives this year is the Kids Fan Zone, sponsored by the HCS. And we also have Fat Candy, who we're never going to miss that sign, are we? Right in the middle of the ground, saying Fat Candy, a great sponsor. And they've been instrumental with the Kids Fan Zone, which has been a great success. You know, Robert, again, with his team of volunteers, have made a big difference to what happens around there. The Supporters Trust, they're a big part of it. With Junior Reds, Yvonne's usually around there collecting the Junior Reds. She keeps telling me now that he's getting harder work and harder work as more and more join in. But the volunteers that have come on board with them, you know, are making that part of it really work. That's been great. But commercially it works. We want the kids of Accrington and Ireland to come support us and further afield. And having something for them where they can go around there and they can take pot shots in there, give dad a breather or mum a breather, or they can have a beer. And it's something that we're really proud of. You know, it's worked really, really well. We're always looking to drive people to match their hospitality as you, but what I don't want to see is that's all we care about. Hospitality is a major thing for the club. You know, if you've been in hospitality, Karen and the team put on one of the best hospitality occasions in, not just in our league, but in some cases as far up as, you know, Premiership standard. The room's fantastic, it's always immaculate, the food is sensational, it really is a great day. Jeff, he entertains all the time, you know, he's here every single week. If you know, buy one, get one free, you've all heard, he's sensational in there, and you know, if you do get the opportunity to go into hospitality, please do, because it's a great day. And it's a huge part of the financial income on match days. So we're always looking to try and drive people into it. I'm well aware that some people will say, is it affordable? We made a decision last year to drop the price after fans contacted us and said there's no benefit to season tickets, because I already have a season ticket, so we dropped the price. £60 now for a season ticket holder, £70 if you're not. Please remember, 5% of that is VAT as well, so we don't make any money on VAT, they have their own money. And also we have the highest standard of caterers. For you, if you've ever been to hospitality, you'll realise the standard of the food is way above other clubs. I don't want to turn it into pie and peas and all the rest of it every week. There has to be something special. That room deserves that, and so do the staff who put the effort in. So we want to keep it high standard. I always like to ask, and you don't have to shout it out today, what you like to see in hospitality, and if there are ways you feel we could improve it. We do look at, we're actually doing it now, which is Yesterday's Heroes, which is where we bring players back from the past and we get them to come into hospitality and tell us a bit about their story, reminisce about things and times gone by. And that's going very well. We've got at Chesterfield, I think, through the hard work of Damie, we've got, I think it was 8 to 10 players from the past who played with Cookie at Chesterfield, so it is against Chesterfield. So they're coming back for the day, so that'll be a great occasion. Those of you who know me, I want to make sure that this club is together and that the legacy that's been left is continued to be enjoyed by everybody. John Coleman and Jimmy Bell were a big part of this club, and you know, there's a lot being said, and I weren't here then, but I want them to come back, and I want them to be part of yesterday's heroes. So I'm talking to Jimmy, and we've already approached John. Danny's been instrumental in that again, in ensuring that, you know, if there are any issues in our way, that, you know, we can get over them. He's trying to find a route for John, because he's doing well at Aldershot now. Jimmy obviously is helping out at Clitheroe. I'm speaking to Jimmy tomorrow, and I would love the opportunity to bring them back for the fans, so that we can celebrate what they did, and we can move on. I think John and Jed have earned their own right now, and I think it's time to put that one to bed, and let's celebrate all those players that have played for us and enjoyed time at Agnes Stanley. And you know, it's something I'm going to be really proud of if we can get that all done. Taking things on board supporters, we obviously listen when we can, and we do what we can. I must admit, Paul Baldwin has been instrumental on coming up with ideas, as have people in the supporters trust. You know, whether it's Guinness, which was their idea, that they wanted Guinness putting on. Obviously, we couldn't put it on draft due to the way that it goes through the system, and Guinness isn't the most friendly when it comes to the pumps and everything else, especially when we don't serve throughout the week and regularly. So we put cans in there. We do apologise on occasion if there isn't any, because it's not to do with us, but those of you who go into pubs and pubs irregularly will realise how difficult it is to get hold of it. So obviously, but we do try and get what we can. We also added peas and gravy to our pies on the kiosks. I will say we got asked for it, but at the last match we sold 4 portions. so if you do want pies and peas and gravy, can we please start ordering it? Because it was asked for, and we put it out there for everybody. And you know, I get Karen coming to me saying, "I've put peas out for these guys, and they bought 4." So to help me out, and then stop Karen getting grabbing at me, can you please buy peas and gravy? But the thing about it is we're listening, and if there are ideas and we can do them and they're affordable and we're not going to waste anything, we'll have a look at it. We're all ears. You know, we haven't got all the ideas of how to make it work. You're out there on a Saturday in the pouring rain sometimes, and you want something at the kiosk, let us know. Let's have a look at it. Paul mentioned about alcohol-free drinks, but we didn't have any. So we put it in the week before he asked me, because I checked, and he was actually already had it in. So we went on, yeah. But again, he came, so we did it, and we asked. And that's what we want to be doing. As a club, we want to listen, and if there's an opportunity to help you, we will. You'll have noticed around the ground that the food kiosks have been turned into beer kiosks as well. Because what we want you to do is, when at our time, we don't want huge queues. People in queues don't buy beer. They just look, they're getting cold. And we've got 20 minutes at our time for everyone to get a drink. So we said, well, the deal we do with the brewery, let's make sure on every kiosk you get the opportunity to get a beer if you want one. And also from the point of view that the coffee set at the moment with the away fans, we don't have that luxury down there. So around the kiosks on the renewal stand, now there's bigger opportunity to maximise revenue potential from away fans as well. So it's we did that, and hopefully you'll see it's easier to get yourselves a beer at half time.
Can you get beer in the away end?
You can't get it in the copy end because of the way that we're very conservative on what we do with stewarding. So if we open that end, we have to maximise the stewarding potential, but we can't.
In the studio stand, or when it's open.
Sorry, in the radio stand. In the radio stand, yeah, you can be all the way on now.
For the away fans as well, yeah.
Yes. So, yeah, we have to take every opportunity we can. Hopefully, in time, we'll have something there that we can be proud of also.
We're on the away turnstiles on a match day, and quite often away fans will come in and they say, can we get a drink in the ground? And we'll tell them to come into Colby's and like, well, we haven't got
Perfect.
time.
That's what we want you to say.
They'll say, can we get in the ground, you know, because turnstiles are open and they're just happy to get a beer and, you know, a pie and beans and gravy or something, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So, first protocol is we want to maximise the potential from this bar for home fans and away fans. Secondly, if they do want to go into the stand, there are kiosks that are ready for them that have beer on both now. So it used to be one beer, one food. But what I tend to see, there was very few people at the food. Everyone came in with beer. So we've now had that changed so that there's beer on both. You know, we don't want to be just seen as, you know, buying alcohol everyone, but commercially it works for us. But first and foremost, the route for anyone is to maximise the potential of this room, you know, to fill it up best we can. We have one of the best nature clubs in, you know, the EFL. People come here and celebrate how great it is. The amount of feedback we get through about this room and about how they're treated and what they see is incredible. But we've got to make sure we maximise that potential. So we're having some signage put up so that more people know to come this way, and obviously we'll move them around. It is a shame that we haven't got that end of the stand to the level of the rest of the stadium, but if you go around the back of the Mineal stand, they've got the fans on that they need.
And for most clubs in this division, that's enough.
Absolutely. You know, we're well aware of what we are, and you know, we love to have that in time. Hopefully, it can be something we do. But that was something we did by putting more beer kiosks in, so that everyone gets the opportunity rather than queuing all day.
Did you look into bottle bottles, Mark? I mentioned it before.
We have looked at bottle bottles. It's not as straightforward due to the fact, you know, it's plastic bottles and all the rest of it, because you can't have.
I'm just thinking like pre-season, because obviously you're not going to go for bottle bottles, you're not going to go for winter. But I always seem to have a goal as pre-season friendly, don't we usually attract a big gate. So when you go behind the players then, you seem to queue all the time. So you're losing money.
But that's why we put the extra kiosks in. So what we realised that, you know, we've always, if anyone's known Andy on, he's always said to me right at the very beginning, the worst thing you can ever have in an event is a queue. Because the person in the queue ain't spending money. The person in the front of the queue is spending money. So you've got to get that person to the front of the queue. And if you get one drink and it's taking you half an hour to get it, you're more reluctant to not get your second one. So we want to make sure that, you know, we get the best opportunity. We have the facility, so let's use it. So we've put that in, and you know, we'll continue to look at ways of, you know, if we still see roadblocks in a way, then we'll look at other things as well. But bottles are hard work because you've got to decant if you know, it takes time. So.
It's like when you go to travelling, majority of it's about bottle cold, but straight to the play off there.
Yeah, it's worthwhile, but then we get Simon Jr. off tidying up. So. Get a pint. Winners are, we have the return of winners are in Coley's. You know, Karen, as part of the dream, she wants to make sure that we have something that when we win, you come in, enjoy a pint and celebrate, and that there's a, you know, reduction in price for you to celebrate that. You know, again, she's always here. By all means, if there's something you feel that will help us, mention it. You know, it's, you know, we have to change tills and things like that to accommodate discount structures and things, but you know, we will look at ways we can support you on a match day, like things like winners hour and calls. I think that will get better as we get the roof sorted and put the bands on. We can continue to celebrate after a game and take it into the early evening. And we're committed to enhancing that where we can. And that goes right across the ground. Anything that we feel can help, that makes a better experience for you, but helps drive the commercial income from the club as well, we'll always listen. You know, we're a small team. I think, you know, I'd say there's probably 12 people who are employed throughout the week. And obviously we're all busy folks and we need ideas, and we're always open to listening. Any questions on that side of things? How are you doing quite well? Retail. So, kits. We're keeping the current home and away kit, and we will be launching a new third kit this year. The focus is to be heavily fashion inspired, so it's more where you can, it goes with the majority of things we wear when we go to the pub and stuff like that. So we think it's great. We've had a vote on amongst all the staff, and it looks great. It's black, but it's smart. So we will show you in the very near future. We're just going through the training kit and things like that for players and for our staff, because all the others go in together. But once we get the final design with the sponsor logo on, we'll put that out there so you can all see it, and it is really nice. And just on that, but we are going to be putting some real discounts out for this year's. I know some people like Platinum and what have you, and there'll be further discounts coming for this year's third kit, if you do want to get one. Any questions on kits?
We've got kit related, but I won't shoot, and I want to just go. What about Christmas jumpers?
Well, strangely enough, we've just sold the last 3 we've had for about the last 15 years. But Geordie has come in with Robert, and they've totally restructured the retail aspects of what we have. If you go in there now, at this time of year, you now can buy a triple XL shirt or a double XL shirt. What we tended to find is the way that we were doing it before is we would buy an amount of shirts at the beginning of the year. All the adults in the room that were of any size would come in and buy a shirt, and then after the rest of the year, unless you were small or you were smaller than the small, you couldn't get a shirt. So what they've done is they've agreed purchasing quantities with Macron so that we can actually now bring stock in to suit customer needs rather than buying in bulk. And there's other things going on, but now they've spent some time having a look at what we offer. So you see new stores, you see new things come into the shop. We are looking at trying to have more of a social media presence, it works hand in hand. We're also wanting to revisit the online shop scenario, which unfortunately due to some of the legal aspects we couldn't pursue last time, but we will be looking at that. And all the team are working together to make sure we get some right stuff in, things like courts and things like that. I think it's hard because at a club like ours with a small fan base, if you overstock, you get left with it. If you ever change anything, you get left with it. And all the money you make selling the bits at the beginning, you lose because you have to write it off at the end. So we're trying our best to have the right stock in the right places. For instance, it may be that you go in, have a look at the courts, see it, try it, size of it, and we'll have to order it in for you, so that it still gives you the opportunity to buy it, but you don't have to have every size of every colour or everything. So, and obviously Rob will help you if you do need to do something like that. And we're working hard, like I say, getting the shop automated from a stock point of view was something that's taken time. It was all spreadsheets before and everything else, so we're working hard to make sure you get some different styles of coats, jackets, and various other stuff, and also being able to buy your kit when you want to buy it, rather than rushing to make sure you're the first of the queue because they're not going to have it in January. That needs to change. Is there any questions on anything?
Are we looking at more women's focus?
It is. It's always been a question in polo shirts and things like that. But on the kit side of things, it is something that we can look at. it's hard again because there's stock lines and there's quantities and everything else. So you have to have, you know, we can't have a shop valuation of hundreds of thousands. You know, we haven't got the benefits of doing so. I think maybe we'll look at some shirts, and maybe if we did the third shirt, we might be able to bring some women's sizes in. But you know, we need to make sure that we sell out of those at the moment because we haven't got any data to sell as what we might sell. So, you know, answer to your question, I don't know, is probably the answer. We see it, and obviously when we're looking at staff, you know, when we're looking at staff, so we're looking to get t-shirts for all our bar staff and things like that, and obviously there's ladies present in that, so some will want baggy fit, some will want, you know, women's fit, so we'll try and do our best, is probably the answer to your question. Any other questions on retail? Right. So, community initiatives. We've got, actually that's it, so community initiatives. The Junior Reds fan zone, we are looking to enhance that. We have got a restriction on the size of where it is, and obviously we have to manage health and safety guidelines, but you know, this year's been fantastic and volunteers have made that even more fantastic, so you know, I think you know, it's been a real plus this year. Rob has been also going out and shouting about this in local schools, and not only about the fan zone and about how the club is looking to entice young children to come and support Accrington Stanley. He's also giving them competitions and various things. And we give over thousands and thousands of tickets in a season to young kids. You ever see a lot of the kids that are over in what I would call the family stand over on the Winnie side. A lot of them are here for free, and a lot of them the parents have paid. So the parent pays and the child comes for free. And it's their, for a lot of them, it's their first experience of coming to football. So we hope that we can turn them into the future Accrington Stanley fans. The big shirt giveaway next year, it'll be our 10th year, and I think the figure will be way over 11,000 shirts that we've given away in 10 years. You know, and we want to build on the back of that, because the children that get those shirts, they get them, it's the first experience they come and looking at a football pitch sometimes. And quite a lot of the time, their parents might be Blackburn or Burnley, they might be supporting other clubs. So it's hard to get the transition of that child through to being an Accrington Stanley fan. So we want to do more to promote it to schools. Rob's working really efficiently with the Community Trust and making sure we have visibility in all schools, and we continue to see not just year 3 kids, that we see other kids coming through. And we're starting to see that. The demographic on the ground is changing. We're getting more kids in. It's great to see. And a lot of the kids we see in there that are now 15, 16-year-old, you know, are kids that were at the very early ages of when we first gave the shirts away. And, you know, it'd be interesting to hear of some of those, why they are now Accrington Stanley fans, and if that had any impact. But that's where we're driving, we continue to do it. Rob from the Family Excellence side, I'm working on you know, development of bringing juniors into the club is going really well. And now this link with the Community Trust, we're doing a lot better with, is starting to bear fruit, because there's more visibility of the club within our junior networks. Just to show how good that's been, when a few years ago, on the Family Excellence status that we get from the FL, we didn't even have bronze due to the hard work from Rob and recently other members of the team. Normally we got bronze, but this year we're looking for silver. And the accreditation, which when you see the work that goes in behind that, it's not something you can just stick your hand up and get it. You have to really graft for it. So to go to silver is, you know, a real effort from Rob and the team. And the best thing about the Family Excellence status is when you get the awards, you know you've done something right, because you see kids benefit from it. When they come and they look at what sorts of marks you're getting, how you're doing, they come and see what we're doing. One of the biggest things was the kids' hands on, the extra mascot. And all these type of things add up. So from a club perspective, we're really growing in that area. So it's great to see. And I hope you see it as well. You know, when you see more kids on the pitch, you see mascots taking penalties. You know, it might be Ben's Holy Grail. There's no harm in some big fluffy monster taking penalties with the kids. And that's what we're trying to do, is make sure that football's for everybody. And that, you know, we continue to grow the fan base through the kids of tomorrow. I have to praise the match day volunteers. I see people in here and whatever, you know, the match day volunteers, it is in here, I think, somewhere. They're a credit to the club. We can't afford to staff the levels that we'd love to, but the volunteers, Yvonne, I know you do your bit, and there's, you know, a community trust, and I think Peter's here every week selling badges, and you know the effort that goes in is phenomenal. So I'd like to say thank you to everybody who volunteers. It's a great effort on the turnstiles and things like that. You know, it's a team effort, and it's something to be really proud of. And I know I am very, very grateful to everyone who puts that time and effort in, especially with some of the weather we've had this year. So so that's great. Community Trust, they've really upped the game now. They didn't used to really do much for the football club. They're really fantastic community trust, don't get me wrong, fantastic, but it was down the road. We never really saw it yet. So there's been a big effort in bringing the two together. Now they get it, they understand it, what this football club means. Without the branch of Accrington Stanley above the door, it's not much more than a community centre. Accrington Stanley's brand is huge, and it counts for so much. We're working together so hard with them at the moment, and there's great things happening. But also, for the first time, every staff member put their name down to volunteer, which is a part of their working week. So it's 3 hours per employee put into the football ground, which helps hugely. Now, they don't all come at once, but it's like they have a rota who comes in. And if you see them now, they help out the flag bearers, with extra flag bearers every week. We're doing our best, and the Community Trust are certainly part of that, so I don't want to leave that out. Has anyone any questions on the community initiatives? And we'll move on. Finally, and I don't mean that in any disregard, the Supporters Trust. What a great bunch of people. I wouldn't be able to do a lot of what I do without them. They're always here with ideas, and also the money they raise, it makes a difference to the club hugely. The screen that we began the season with was a big square missing, so you have the best picture of someone with their head's missing. We couldn't really market anything on the screen because letters were missing. If it wasn't for them and the donations they give to us, that wouldn't have been repaired. But not only that, they've repaired the screen and they've turned it into something that is a really usable commercial asset now. They've also invested money into the sound system that goes with it, camera system, so we can now do live interviews. For those who have been to the recent matches, you've seen replays on there for the first time. We can also, we've got volunteers. Jack, who's a volunteer in the ticket office, who runs the screen, he's a volunteer. We pay him a very small amount, but he's just a young lad who's learning on his own back, and he's doing a great job. We're starting to see the benefits of using it, but that wouldn't happen without the Supporters Trust. The money they put in this year has been sensational. They've helped Ben with equipment to help him maintain a pitch that costs a fortune to maintain. Again, stuff that is very expensive and not easy for us to buy. And we're going to look forward to, the yesterday's heroes and things like that, being actually interview people at the side of the pitch and see it on the screen and hear it through the sound system is, down again to investment that we've been brought by the Supporters Trust. So I will say we're very thankful for everything that they do, and thanks Pete and Baldy and the rest of the team from the Supporters Trust. We are appreciative of what we do. Just on one final thing for them, I get told off the guys if I didn't mention the 1968 draw. If you haven't put your name down for it, it's the great thing about it. We did have a draw that we used to ask people to invest in, but it went to the wider area. So we found that in Accrington there were very few people winning anything. These guys came up with the 1968 draw, and it's growing at a rate of knots. And the nice thing is the people who win are people from around here, are people who put money back into their club and have a chance of winning something that can make a difference to them for a weekend or a week, and in some cases beyond. So that's growing. So if you're not on the 1968 draw, I'm sure Peter will talk to you afterwards. The good thing is as well, that money tends to come back into the club. It does support some local charities and local initiatives, but please feel free to join it, and you'll be part of the success that we see through the Supporters Trust. And that's pretty much me. It's great to stand here in front of everybody and talk about positives. The biggest one being where we are in the league, I'm sure you'll all agree with that. John, Jed, the lads, and also the lads that don't play, but are part of a big squad. Fair credit to them. We studied last year, we said the minimum expectation was halfway, and that's where we are. I'd say minimum, we have to be realistic and say, what you've seen this year has been a transition from last year. We're not just the side that rolls over anymore. If you watched it last night, there's great determination in everything we do now. It's a team that we can be proud of. When you come on a Saturday, you know you can get behind them and they'll put the effort in. They might not always match where we would love them to be, but I'll tell you what, we are proud of the bunch of lads we have and how they're being turned into a great team. So that's roughly it for me. Has anyone any questions about anything we talked about tonight? If you do feel you'd rather say it on my own, I'm staying here, so if you want to come and talk to me, you can do. Does anyone have any questions?
Just a quick question. Fan of the week. How do you decide who the fan of the week is?
We get nominations in from fans, which we invite, and then make a decision as to who's the most deserving. Which actually is a far better process than it was at the beginning of the season, where it was just putting a name that anybody knew. But there is some science behind it.
I think it comes down to where if they travel to away games and the curtain when we see them around the grounds and things like that. It's a privilege to be fan of the week. I think sometimes because we see familiar names all the time, you tend to think, well, wow, but I think they're familiar because they're always here.
No, it's the same kind of person. That's my sort of.
Well, I think the best thing to do that is let's have a chat afterwards.
I would dispute that quite strongly because we have a mix of some fans who sit over here, some fans who stand behind there, and we're conscious to make that differential.
Well, I think if anyone else would like to discuss anything to do that, I think we just take that to one side. I think you said we've had a positive meeting tonight about a lot of the things we're doing in the club, and all right. There's opinions sometimes, but they're all positive. So I just have a quick power and just ask how the process works, and we'll go from there. Is anyone anything else?
Just around the wall, the paper travels away there, it costs an absolute fortune. Like with me, and daughter, son, I don't go, I go to many of them, go to Bollywood, I think. What about and like, it's not this season, so I can't go, but by the end of next season, we're going to be coach.
We can have a look, because it may be that we can do something to do sponsorship. You know, this is what we're talking about, and ideas. You know, I can't, if we always look at it from a purely financial perspective, we'll never do anything.
Like I said, if you've got coaches on, for some away games, it's costing you £200.
Well, we've got opportunities to talk. If we're using official coaches, and we're using official coaches and things like that, then it's something the club can do. Yeah.
From one coach to 8 coaches.
Yeah.
No, I'm not, I don't mean, you can liaise with Adam, I'm hoping like the regular thing will go almost week in, week out, it's just a way of
I think due to the regulation of policing around transport and the rest of it, what we have to make sure that if we support a free coach, it has to be through the official channels and make sure that everyone's aware of what's happening. Now, what we can do is we can work on financial initiatives throughout the year to make sure that there's room for a free coach or whatever. These are just ideas. Yeah, well, look, we can do, there's lots of things we can do, but they need some thought. And it's not, we haven't got lots of money where we can just do things. And I get it, you know, we have some very, very loyal fans. I was there at Grimsby yesterday with 41 fans sat in the other side. You don't get much loyal than 41 fans that stood over there in freezing cold. So I appreciate everything that you're saying about away fans. We will look at things where we may be able to do something. But unless we go about something and come up with ideas and talk, you know, these ideas never come to the forefront. So, okay, we'll look at it. Yeah. Anyone else?
I'm just going to ask if you had any luck about the branding that the women's team were using.
So at the moment we've still got a bit of a difficult situation with it because it's the women's team are a private limited company under guarantee, and as such aren't properly affiliated with the club. The service that agreement runs out in June. Those conversations are happening now and will continue to happen. I will be honest, at the moment I'm a little worried about some of the conversations that are happening around decisions that are being made. We can't, as a club, take on 226 girls and facilitate training and practice. There has to be conversations about how the decisions are being made around, because they are running as a separate entity totally. Decisions are not being made with the thought of the brand. Now, I'll leave it at that because it's something I have to really think long and hard about how the next discussions go. It's a damn shame because they, as what they do and how they do it, to actually get 226 women to play football is the biggest football club around for women. But I do think the brand is the drag for the women's club, and that has to be managed first and foremost. Accrington Stanley's brand is our brand, your brand, and it has, where people who represent the brand have to behave in a particular way, and that is answering the question the best I can at this time.
Just back to these coaches, could they not have a loyalty card? Like,
I think it's, rather than go over that now, I think you're right in saying there are initiatives we can put together to reward loyalty, and there's ways to discuss that. I think we've got Supporters Trust, which is great for that type of conversation, to come back and feed that through, and we can work on how that might work. We will always support the loyal fans the best we possibly can. So if you consistently talk Peter and the guys and Paul, we'll try and do what we can.
Can I just follow on from that, in that we've got quite a lot of official coaches going that are half empty at the moment, and I think we need to be promoting them and pushing the use of them before we start looking at initiatives
I think
travelling free, because at the moment, I mean, the players really appreciate the fans that are going away, and sometimes like last night we were there in very small numbers, but we've got a half empty coach, and I
in answer to your question about the difference is significant in what the two environments are. So you've got the fan base, which is your traditional fan base that will go on the licensed coaches that we put out and we go and follow. Then we have the beer bus. Now, look, earning fans will represent the club in the way that they do it. Now, if we're asking the club to put a beer boss on, that's not going to happen. So, because we can't, because we're regulated by, you know, the police authorities and, you know, and stuff like that. We, as a club of what we are, we sort of trust these guys to behave, and hopefully nothing comes of it, and obviously we hope that they go and get a great way, and to be fair to them, they look after themselves, they fill the coaches, they pay for everything, so it's not, it only becomes a problem when it is a problem. But what we're asking for is if we're going to put something free on for something, and we're going to work with the supporters trust who'll be through the right channels. Anyone else? Right then, so we'll wrap that up. So listen, thank you very much for coming everybody. I really appreciate your time. I hope you